And good evening, everybody. Welcome to Hoops HD's Championship Week Video Notebook. It's finally here. Championship Week, conference tournaments, the best 13-day week of the season. I'm your host, Chad Sherwood. Joining me, first of all, David Griggs. David, how are you tonight?
I'm just excited about the Black Knights. Your team's already out.
Yeah, we're about to get to that in about 3 seconds here, but let me introduce our other panelists tonight, John Salika. John, how are you?
Well, I'm happy to tell you that my team won tonight, and at the rate things are going, may wind up being the last man standing among the four of our teams.
Yeah, what we do every year, this might be the last year we do it because we seem to curse everybody when we do it. We assign teams to each other as teams that can only make the tournament by winning their conference tournament. We did that last night. John, you were assigned Miami of Ohio. They haven't started the conference tournament yet. David, even though the Patriot League kicked off tonight, you've got Army. They haven't played yet. And
Right.
you gave me NJIT, the 2 seed in the ASUN.
Last year's team of the people.
And you cursed them.
NJIT.
And that's why I'm leaving. Goodbye.
Oh, he's finally gone. All right. Well, anyway. Well, John, now that Chad's gone, let's talk a little border war. Let's talk some Kansas and Nebraska. This is a series we need to get going again, don't you think?
Yeah, I was looking up on Wikipedia the other day, and I noticed there was a fight in Congress going on between Preston Brooks and Charles Sumner, all because of a Kansas-Missouri spat.
Yeah. Anyway, we need to get the board. Oh,
I'm back because I just realized that we're going to get about half an hour of Missouri, Kansas if I leave, and that's even worse. Anyhow, I'm back, and we did have a lot of conference. Well, not a lot of conferences. This was kind of a little bit of a warm-up night, almost 6 conference tournament games tonight, and we do want to get right into them. So what I'm going to do is pull up on my screen here in about 3 seconds the bracket from the Atlantic Sun, and can we see it?
Not yet. It's still just... Oh, there it is. There it is.
Okay. There's the bracket from the Atlantic Sun. We had 4 games tonight. Let's start with the game of the night in terms of the most exciting game. That was that 3-6 game between Jacksonville and Lipscomb. Went into overtime. Just a close game the whole way, back and forth. And Lipscomb pulling off the upset 92-89 with a huge 3 that they hit with about 10 seconds left in the overtime period.
Yeah, really exciting game back and forth. Decent crowd at Jacksonville. They had a pretty good year, and you always kind of, I don't know, March is bittersweet because, it's over. When you lose, you're done. And is there room in the CIT for Jacksonville? I don't know. Hopefully there is for NJIT.
Yeah, Jacksonville 16-16 overall. That does make them technically eligible for the CIT, but again, 16-16 overall is not that good.
This is also the second year in a row that Lipscomb has won an opening round game despite being the higher seed. And last year they pulled it off against Northern Kentucky.
I think that was in overtime last year also, if I recall.
Yeah, it was. Lipscomb not eligible, but...
Lipscomb's eligible.
No, I'm sorry, Stetson.
Right. Let's talk about that other game there, John. NJIT, the team I was assigned, lost and kind of badly at home to Stetson tonight.
Yeah, it looked like it was actually going to start off pretty well for the Highlanders. They got out to an 8-4 lead, but that was about where the highlights seemed to end. And Stetson, their lead had ballooned up to as much as 13 in the first half. It looked like the Highlanders were going to cut it down to about 6 or 7 points, but as soon as the second half began, it began with a 15-point lead, and Stetson just coasted from there.
Yeah, probably wasn't even as close as that 15-point final. It was over 20 for much of the game there.
This was surprising. NJIT had been playing really well in the latter part of the season after having some head-scratching losses. They were at home, really good crowd at the game tonight. Just kind of a pitiful performance. It's kind of inexplicable. I mean, it's kind of preposterous that they played so poorly.
Yeah. The other half of the bracket, North Florida cruised over Upstate, really. Gulf Coast and Kennesaw was close for about up until early in the second half, and then Gulf Coast kind of turned it on. ran away with that game in the end. Now, on the top half of the bracket, we've got Forum holding Gulf Coast will be at North Florida coming up on Thursday night. The bottom half, Lipscomb now gets to host a game, amazingly, against Stetson. And Stetson is not eligible for the NCAA tournament this year, creating a real interesting scenario if they can pull off another upset here at Lipscomb and make the finals. Either it will be against North Florida in a completely meaningless game because no matter what, North Florida will be going to the NCAA tournament at that point. Or even more interesting, what if it's Stetson at Gulf Coast for the finals?
Right, because essentially Stetson is playing, as you said off the air, Stetson would be playing for North Florida. So
yeah. There's two
you
different
have a
ways.
really bizarre. I mean, I don't think has there ever been a situation quite like that.
Well, last year in the SWAC, Texas Southern and Southern met in the championship game, and Southern was ineligible, which meant that Texas Southern, win or lose, was going to the NCAA tournament.
Right.
Texas Southern ended up winning that game, but in the SWAC and also in the Horizon League, where Northern Kentucky is eligible, if the ineligible team wins it, the team they beat in the finals gets the bid. The ASUN does it differently. They give the bid to the outright conference champion if there is an outright conference champion. There was one in North Florida. That means that North Florida could lose in the semifinals and still go to the NCAA tournament.
Right. A first for the ASUN, a team losing in the semis and making the NCAA tournament.
Never happened before in a single bid league. Never.
Right. Yeah.
Also keep in mind there was another factor in play here that you would probably see in a conference like the Big West or the NEC, where they would actually reseed after the quarterfinals if you have chaos like this. But the Atlantic Sun does not do reseeding, so this is why Lipscomb will get an unexpected home game after winning their opening round game.
I'm not a fan of not reseeding, for the record. But
and congrats to Lipscomb. Lipscomb has a shot now to be playing for an NCAA tournament bid on Sunday, so we've got to keep an eye on that. Either that or we're going to have a meaningless game on Sunday, one of the two.
Mm-hmm.
We also, though, had two games today. I'm going to try to get the Patriot League up here first. Give me half a second.
This coming from CBS Sports, correct?
Yes,
graphics tonight?
CBS Sports, where our good friend Jerry Palm is from CBS Sports. And yes, we're contributing CBS Sports to these brackets that we're using tonight. We had the two first-round games in the Patriot League, beginning with Navy and Lafayette. That was the earlier of the two games tonight, where Lafayette, David, kept trying to come back into this game, but never were quite able to get all the way back.
Yeah, I mean, again, they were always within arm's length. I mean, it seemed like it was always within reach, but they couldn't quite get over the top. Nice win for Holy Cross. A little bit of a throwback here. Remember, it was about 10 years ago when that Bucknell Holy Cross game was pretty heated. It's cooled off quite a bit, but it's going to be fun watching those two go at it.
Again, these these next round of games are also coming up on Thursday, just like the ASUN does. So Bucknell is going to be hosting Holy Cross. Navy goes to Lehigh. The other two games, Colgate at Army and American at BU.
Yeah, Army is going to win that game. Army's going to. I like Army to just go through, win the automatic bid, and then win probably the play-in game in Dayton, and then maybe they might take the 1 seed down.
David, I'll see your 10 years and I'll raise you 20 years as to when Navy and Lafayette were actually the top two teams in the Patriot League back when Frayne O'Hanlon had actually taken over at Lafayette.
Yeah.
I think Lafayette was the team that actually won the regular season in '99, and Navy, because of a quirk in the bylaws of the Patriot League, actually got the first round bye that year, so Lafayette could get home court throughout the playoffs that year.
That was the early 90s, wasn't it?
Well, early 2000s for
okay.
the tournament.
Let's move on. That completes the games that were played tonight. There are 3 conferences in action tomorrow night, beginning in the America East, another conference like the 2 conferences we saw tonight, where that does it right and has the higher seed host the games. Does it further right, they do reseed after the semifinals also, John, so you'll be happy about that with the America East. We've got Stony Brook hosting UMBC, New Hampshire hosting Binghamton, Vermont
Another
hosting
home
Maine.
game for New Hampshire.
And New Hampshire's second ever home game after their first ever one last year, and Albany hosting Hartford. John, you mentioned it earlier during one of our Under the Radar podcasts that we've got a huge disparity between the top 4 teams in this conference and the rest of the league, too.
Yeah, and Stony Brook is also coming off a loss to Vermont, although that in itself is nothing to be ashamed of, but it would also put to rest any talk from our colleague Lee Del Vecchio about Stony Brook possibly being at large this year.
Well, Lee was drinking a little too much that night anyhow. But the question we like to ask, though, with this conference, first of all, I don't know if either one of you expects an upset tomorrow night. I just don't see it happen. I think all 4 of these teams cruise. But do you think Stony Brook wins it all, or does somebody else steal the bid here? David, I'll ask you that first.
Stony Brook has 1 loss. It was on the road at Albany.
2.
That's it. I don't think Albany lost a home game. Stony Brook didn't either. If Stony Brook has home court all the way through, I think they win it.
Okay. They actually lost 2 games, as John just said. They lost to Vermont over the weekend, too. Lost to Vermont at home.
Oh, that's right. They did. Okay. I'm asleep at the wheel here.
John, do you agree with Stony Brook?
I think Stony Brook is again going to be the sentimental pick to win here, but I think Albany's been the hotter team of late, and until Stony Brook finds a way to knock them off, I'm going to go with Great Danes to win the tournament here.
I'm going to agree with John. I think the Albany
You're both wrong.
tournament as well when they beat New Hampshire in the finals at home.
Oh, wouldn't that be something? The state of New Hampshire, would they be able to handle this if they came that close to the NCAA tournament?
Well, they can handle it for hockey. I'm sure they can handle it for basketball.
Maybe. I don't know.
Also up tomorrow night, the 4th of the 4 conferences that play the entire conference at home court sites. All 4. This is the 4th of those. It's the Northeast Conference. As we get this up on the screen here, quarterfinal action tomorrow night. Robert Morris at Wagner, Mount St. Mary's at St. Francis Brooklyn, LIU Brooklyn at Sacred Heart, SFPA at Fairleigh Dickinson. Should we just put these 8 names in a hat and draw one out to pick our champion?
Yeah, I'm thinking it's the reverse of chalk. I'm thinking Robert Morris goes in and gets it done, and then I don't know. St. Francis Brooklyn might win that one. I don't know. This really is a toss-up, and it's going to be fun. These are great rivalries, great atmospheres, and I know that the victor is probably heading to Dayton, Ohio, of all places, but it's going to be a fun tournament. This always is a fun tournament.
It's not a good sign if your regular season champion is losing to St. John's this year, but I still think Wagner was still a cut above the field in terms of consistency throughout the year, even though Robert Morris, along with Mount St. Mary's, has been usually the repeat teams that go to the NCAA tournament, but I'd find it hard-pressed to pick against Wagner this season.
I'm going to go with, we were talking them up all of last year. They had that disappointing loss in the championship game, and we really haven't been talking them up much this year. I'm going to go with St. Francis to win this this year. Pull off the win over Mount St. Mary's, knock off Wagner, and then maybe defeat a team like probably like a Fairleigh Dickinson or even better would be LIU Brooklyn. It'd be an awesome championship game.
That would. Oh God, you would not want to miss that one.
Now, there is reseeding, so there's actually a chance that St. Francis and LIU could meet in the semifinals. So
yeah, either way, it would be fun. That's a pretty intense rivalry.
2 more games coming up tomorrow night, and that is in the Ohio Valley Conference, where the conference tournament kicks off here. And if the computer wants to cooperate with me, we'll actually get the games up on the screen here. Ladder format tournament here. All of the games being played in Nashville. Top 2 seeds Belmont and UT Martin won't start playing until Friday, actually. But tomorrow night's games, David, Austin Peay, Tennessee Tech, Eastern Illinois, Murray State. This Tennessee Tech team was in contention for the 1 seed until the final week and fell all the way down to the 5.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of parity, a lot of closeness here. So I like Tennessee Tech to win that game tomorrow. And Murray State, I was kind of big on them at least to win the division, but they kind of fell off down the stretch too. So
well, here's the crazy thing about the way the OVC. Murray State and Tennessee Martin actually tied for the West Division.
Yeah, they did.
But all 4 teams from the East Division that made the tournament had better overall records than either one of them. That's why UT Martin actually the 5th best record, but gets the 2 seed, and Murray State, who loses the tiebreaker, drops all the way to the 6th seed and has to play 4 games.
All
and
right,
we're not even including one elephant in the room that got left out of the field, and that's Eastern Kentucky.
right.
Eastern
Chad,
Kentucky losing their regular season finale, and Austin Peay took that last spot. Yep.
yeah, and again, so that game kind of had a tournament feel. Let's look at a little bit further down the line here. UT Martin winning the division. I believe that's the first time they've ever won anything.
I think they had a decent year last year. I don't think they didn't win the division. Obviously, Murray State did that, but they were actually somewhat competitive last year as well.
Yeah, but
I want to say that they may have even made one of the postseason tournaments last year. I'll try to get that double check.
Okay, yeah, but I mean, they won a division. You get a band. I mean, I realize it was the Ohio Valley East, but is it the Ohio? Well, what division are they in? I'm
The
sorry.
West.
Yeah,
But,
it was the Ohio Valley West, but they won something. You can hang a banner for that, and for a program that has been pitiful, good for them. And the other thing, if Murray wins tomorrow, we have one of our favorite rivalries once again in this tournament, the Murray-Moorhead game.
Yeah, UT Martin actually made the CIT last year, and I want to say that they made it to the. They made a run in the CIT last year as well. Try to get that confirmed here in a second. John, who do you like to win this conference, though? While I try to get that information.
Yeah, this one has also been kind of crazy like some of the other conferences, like the Big South in terms of parity, but I still think the road is going to go through Belmont here.
I agree.
Yeah, and I did just confirm that UT Martin actually played Evansville in the semifinals of the CIT last year. So if they're like NJIT, they should have a CIT semifinalist banner hanging up, shouldn't they?
I would.
But David, you agree? You do agree that Belmont takes us?
Yes, I do.
And I agree also.
I'm pulling for Martin, but I think it will be Belmont.
I don't even know that Martin makes the finals. I think you could see Murray State or Moorhead State come out of the other half of the bracket there.
Yeah.
But Belmont might have if they get the winner of Tennessee State, Tennessee Tech, they're going to have the more difficult semifinal, which is kind of crazy. But
Yeah.
Especially if they get the crosstown matchup with Tennessee State.
Man.
But on that note, we're going to pull the screen down here. Hopefully I should be back on. And the only other thing we do like to do here on our Championship Week video notebooks is update our survival board. I think, David, you're going to pull that one up on your screen, if I'm correct.
Yes, we have that right now, and I believe we should be seeing it now.
There it is, 323 with an asterisk teams remained heading into tonight's play.
Yeah, and what I like about this is that it's almost sort of like a resurgence here. These 323 teams, no matter what kind of year they had, no matter where they are in terms of the bubble, they all get to play until they lose. So all of them could win the national championship.
Any one of them heading into tonight could have won the national championship. Going down into the board here, you can see there's various different states that teams could be in. Bold,
Yes.
there are locks. Italics, they're under consideration. And regular type, if you lose, you're done. And that's what happened tonight to 6 teams.
Right. And it's important that we make this adjustment, because what would happen if we didn't, Chad? And what could potentially happen?
What could potentially happen if we do not update this board is that the Tournament Selection Committee, when they meet in New York starting next week, could actually sit there and debate and potentially even put into the field a team
Right.
they should not even be discussing.
Right, because we do this for them. It's a service for them. It's so they can
They
come
might
in.
put NJIT in. Now, I wouldn't complain about that, but they shouldn't even
Right.
be doing NJIT.
Yes.
Now, NJIT is on the board you see there, but we'll get to that in a second. Sorry, John.
We also want to make sure they don't put Stetson in by mistake.
Right, yes. And we do this, I mean, we do it for the viewers, but we also do it to help out the committee. I mean, this is just a valuable resource that they can use.
Well, David, if you want to hit the refresh button there, we should see the update happen live on the air. This is very exciting.
Yeah,
Going
it really
from
is.
323.
Oh,
317 teams are left with a chance to win the national championship.
yeah.
As if you look down the A-Sun section there, you see there's only 3 A-Sun teams left because Stetson
Right.
being ineligible only 3 left there. We also lost 2 teams from the Patriot League tonight.
Yeah, so down the 8, there's the Patriot, and none of those teams are italics or bold, so it means they all need to win the automatic bid to get in.
Right. David, can you explain to us what that little asterisk that we see next to the 317 means?
Yes, it is. We are still trying to get a waiver for the team of the people, the Grand Canyon Antelopes. Really, if they don't get it, then it'll be down to 316. But they're ineligible due to being a transitional team, but we don't think that's fair. They're our adopted team, and we are fighting for them. We have called the president. We have tweeted at the president. We've called Mark Emmert. If you missed it, we called Mark Emmert on the air. So we're still waiting to hear back. Yeah. We're still waiting to hear back from him. But that's why there's the asterisk there.
Well, on that note, so John, any final thoughts about what we saw tonight and what we've got going into tomorrow night?
Yeah, the month of March is certainly upon us, and a little bit on a sad note, as we noted, with NJIT going down tonight.
Yep, and David?
It started. I mean, again, the win in advance stage of the season has started. So the road to the Final Four, whatever, win and move on, or lose and you're done. So
yeah, we had 6 games tonight, 10 tomorrow night, and then when we get to Thursday and Friday, it's going to really start cranking up. We're going to have a lot of games. But again, the only reason the team of the people is gone is because of David Griggs, and that's why I hate it.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, well, I don't like Chad either.
Have a great night, everybody. We're going to talk to you again tomorrow night.